I am live. Good morning. It is Friday, 10 a.m. Um, January 6th. Wow, 2023. So first video of the year. Actually, I can't say really the first video of the year because I did have a Q Show Corner episode drop yesterday, which I completely forgot to share just because there were so many other things going on. But I'll have to do that. and but yeah, so we I hope everyone had a safe New Year's Eve. I hope all that everyone's having a good new year so far. We're 6 days in. Um, yeah, me. Um, yeah, it's just another day. I don't know. I remember when I was younger, I used to be so excited. It's a new year, new, all that kind of stuff. But nah, it's just another Friday to me. Um, really, it's so funny. One of my students came in and they were like, it's like Happy New Year. Or no, I was like, oh, so good to see you. And he goes, oh, this is Happy New Year. And I was like, yes. Like it was really weird. I instead of saying Happy New Year to you too, I was like, yes. Like, I don't know. I've always been one of those people to kind of, um, uh, wear my feelings on my sleeve. And I've just, this week has just kind of been really shitty for me, mainly because, the market has been so crappy that I've lost, I don't know what, 5 grand that I was expecting to, I was, well, not really. Well, yes, I was. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting it, but, but, 5 grand that I was hoping and somewhat expecting to live on and help, feed me and while the business grew is not there anymore. So, um, and actually, I think 5 grand is being nice. I think it's a little over that, but yeah. So, gotta love it when the market has been so shitty that. Anyway, so that is just another struggle, but it's life. It's now one thing, and it's not because it's a new year or anything like that. I just decided, I like reading books, and I wanted to start reading more. I want to start writing more, and so if we mark anything as okay, well, at the beginning of the year, I started doing this. Um, I read a book by Randy King. And of course, I don't have it in front of me, it's in the other room, but it's called Selling Out to Your Level of Comfort. And it's basically kind of how to, you're a martial artist starting a business, and it's really kind of for any business, but he's a martial artist in Canada. He's like, this is kind of how I started. And some of the tips and tricks that he uses. Now, he came from advertising, so he's really great at marketing. Um, but it's one of those where, uh, you know, it was, he was kind of already, for me, the book was already preaching to the choir because a lot of the things that he believes and that he's done, I believe in and that I already do. Um, but there were some things where, like for me, I struggle in social media and scheduling and routine and all that kind of stuff. Uh, so when it got to his social media part, talking about that, and the book was written in 2017, so it is a little bit out of date. But uh, he talks about posting frequency and what uh, what platforms he focused on. Um, it's kind of funny. He hates Twitter before, just like me. Like he's like, I don't like Twitter. Now I don't know if he's on Twitter now, but like at the time, at the writing of the book, he's like, I don't do Twitter. I don't like Twitter. And so he and I basically were hating Twitter before it was popular, you know. But anyway, I just thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so I reached out to him. I told him, hey, Rory gave me this book. I finally had a chance to read it. It was, you know, I thought it was really good. I got a lot out of it. You know, kind of question him on, you know, since it's been so long, what are kind of his thoughts on social media and you know, how it's changed, where he's added stuff. So that was a pretty good conversation. You know, Randy, I'd love to read Randy in sometime in the future, but anyway, Randy King, selling out to your, well, if I post, it's not going to post in Facebook. So, but what I will do is I will go to Amazon. I wish I had, you know, there's just some things. There's just some things that's like, oh God, I kind of wish. All right. So if I go to share screen, share tab. Okay. All right. So this is the book, Selling Out to Your Level of Comfort. Oh, wow. It came out almost 6 years ago. So at the time he was writing it, it probably came out, you know, he was writing it in 2015. No, I'm sorry, 2016. So some like the social media material is a little bit out of date, but everything else really is truly relevant. Creating your brand, thought processes on how to do stuff. And one thing I found really interesting is that he had said he started a not necessarily when he first started teaching, but when he was, one of the things he did was that he did and I can't remember what he called it, but basically he would do private lessons. He would go to the person's house and train them at their house. And this was actually an idea that I had. I called it the mobile dojo. And that term comes from way back in the day. Jim Slothour, me, I think Scott Rohr, and maybe one other person. We had this idea that kind of popped up that we would buy this van and we would travel teaching seminars, and that the van would be a mobile dojo. So I had thought about starting the service where I, as an instructor, will come to you, private lessons. I charge $100 an hour. And so I would go to you, I'd have mats and pads and all that kind of stuff. I actually bought mobiledojo.com because I figured, okay, well, I could start it and maybe not necessarily franchise it, but then if you were, you know, if people wanted to be part of the mobile dojo thing as private instructors, they could sign up and then market their stuff, you know, in their local thing, but there would be one central website. And that actually might be a great idea for the future. But anyway, but he actually did something very similar. But he didn't call it that, but he was doing that. And but I was like, oh dude, I had that same idea. So, I don't know. I think Randy and I would be good friends, or would be friendly with each other. We both know Rory Miller. We both have roots in modern artists. So anyway, so if you're looking for a book to read, I read it in one day. Very easy read. selling out to your level of comfort. Let's see. Remove. So I read that. And then I purchased a book on Audible a few months back. Just hadn't had a chance to read it yet. But it was Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights. For those of you who don't know, Matthew McConaughey is he's an actor. He won an Academy Award for Dallas Buyers Club, or I can't remember the title of the movie. I actually have never seen that movie. He was in a bunch of rom-coms, done. I think one of my favorite movies that he's been in, though, was Mud. Great movie. So this guy, so it's kind of a memoir. I think it was printed in 2020. So he wrote it in about 2019. He was born in 1969. So this was kind of like, I'm 50 years old. I'm going to write a memoir. This dude has lived he's done things that have just been amazing. So like, you know, he went to school, graduated. Then he did what is it? Kind of like a study abroad, but it was, I can't remember what you call it, but like he went to go live with a family in Australia, and their son went to go live with his family. So I can't remember what you call it, but anyway, so he did that, and he tells his adventures there. And then, you know, he talks about how he first started getting into acting, and like he literally had a dream, figured out, like he had a dream of himself floating on the Amazon River, and there's all these other details. And so, of course, he had the money to do it, but he literally followed that dream. Like when we all say, you know, follow your dream, do what you want. No, this guy literally followed a dream. Like he actually went to the Amazon to float in the Amazon River, where he had kind of an epiphany. And then again, he traveled to Africa, literally following a dream. Literally. So it's anyway, it's an incredible book. I just finished it this morning. Of course, I didn't read it. I listened to it. That's where I'm able to, you know, do my best reading, is by listening. It's actually perfectly narrated by him. So you get the inflection, and kind of, because it is his personal story, it's like anyway, so it's really, really good. One of the things, and I actually wrote this on the board in class yesterday. One of the things, so he's following literally following one of his dreams. He's in Africa, and he didn't, you know, when he was there, he still was a big name. He was, you know, still a big rom-com actor, but he was like, you know, the internet wasn't really big where they were. So not a lot of people knew who he was. And he was like, he could have cared less, but he didn't want to go, oh yeah, my name is Matthew McConaughey, I'm an actor. So he gave himself some name, and that he was just a writer. He told people, and this one guy, Issa, I can't remember if he even gave the guy a last name, but this guy Issa that he was traveling with, it was kind of like a translator and travel guide. Basically, you said, just tell people that I'm a writer and a boxer. And so people could have cared less that he was a writer, but it kind of got noticed that he was a boxer. And so he got challenged by this wrestler who was a champion of his village, and later to come to find out of many other villages. And so, like, he's wrestling this guy. He talks about their match, and because he was challenged, and so he met the challenge and challenged the guy back. In this, it was really kind of cool how he described it. But he challenges him. He matches this guy. Like, and so really the ref at the end is like, hey, we have a draw. So he matches this guy. And so he and Esau are talking, and he's like, and they're like, oh, well, you know, they were screaming my name. And he says, is that, you know, and he says, so does that mean I won? You know? And Esau's like, no. He says, it's not about the win or the loss. It's not about winning or losing. To paraphrase, it's not about winning or losing. It's about, do you accept the challenge? If you accept the challenge, then you have already won. And for me, like, I heard those words and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so profound. Because yeah, it's really not about, you know, it's not about, and really about life. It's not about winning or losing. If you look at the competition of life, it's not about winning or losing. Do you accept the challenge? And so for me, that's what I got, was that if you don't accept the challenge, you will never know. You will never know how it could have turned out. So you just live life. You accept the challenges along the way. You say yes. And I to me, that's what I got out of that. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, and you may fail, but failures happen on the road to success. So, but yeah, I just thought that was really cool. But it's also funny because, if anyone can remember the movie Contact, Matthew McConaughey played either a priest or something in that movie. It's been forever since I've seen the movie, but the way he played that character, that's where he was. Like, that's where he was personally in his life, spiritually. So, I thought that was an interesting additive. My personal motto has been for quite some time, live with no regrets, which is a similar concept. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we just let life let us pass it, you know, if we just let life pass us by and we don't take those chances, then we will never know. So, yeah. And if we do something and we fail or we are not successful, then we will know. We have learned something. Don't do that again. Or the next time I do that, I will do something different. Yeah. I mean, it's like, you know, I do not have all the business answers, or I would be, I'd be one of those guys on Shark Tank. But I know that through my little business adventures throughout my life so far, when I've gotten to this point, there are some things that I will not do. And there are some things that I don't have a problem doing, which is actually another great point that Randy brought up in his book. He actually said he has a list of, you know, especially when it comes to selling out. He made a list of things I will never do, ever, ever, ever. And then there's the things that I will do with no problem. And then there's a maybe. And like for him, he will never teach kids classes, ever, ever, ever. And that's fine. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah. Let's see. So that's kind of been my book journey so far. I made my Alexa, she and I talked, and I told her, I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to start reading a book every, you know, not every day. I mean, like Randy's book, I was able to get through a whole day. If I had focused, I probably could have gotten through Matthew McConaughey's book in a whole day. But that is, because it's only, I think it's only like 8 hours, 7 hours. I can't remember how long is this book. Um, yeah, 6 hours and 43 minutes. So just shy of 7 hours. I'd probably, if I had just listened to it, but I got things to do. I can listen to it in the car. I listen to it a little bit at the dojo before classes. So it was one of that where I wasn't able to get through it in a whole day, but I could have. The next book I'm going to read is actually I bought this. I've read The Art of War before, but here's another version of it. By the way, if you did not know this about me, I love The Art of War. I have, anytime I come along a new version of it, or new translation, new printing, I will buy a copy. I probably have, and it's not like I go searching for The Art of War, but I, if I come across it, a bookstore or whatever, I'll be like, oh, this looks interesting. So this one is The Entrepreneur's Guide to the Art of War. So by Mark Smith. So this is my next book. I got this a couple weeks ago when I was at Barnes and Noble. We were buying Christmas presents for my niece and nephews. So I was like, ooh, that looks kind of interesting. It was on Barnes and Noble's kind of their, hey, these books haven't sold very well, so we got a shit ton of them, and we're going to sell them for cheap. So I ended up getting this for pretty cheap. I don't know what MSRP is $12.99 on it. I think I got it for like $4 or $5. So anyway, so there we go. And I'll let you guys know how that goes, because I figure, I'll keep you guys up to date on what I'm reading and all that kind of nifty stuff. There's also other things where I've kind of made a list of books I want to either read or reread. In fact, it was funny because, and this is why I say it wasn't necessarily a New Year's resolution or any type of thing, because I don't do that. Before I read Randy's book, I had just finished listening or re-listening to Deep Survival. Why people die, why people survive, and or people die, or life, death, and why people survive. That's that. Okay, hold on a second. There's the longer title. Okay. There we go. Who lives, who dies, and why? That's what it is. Deep Survival, who dies, or who lives, who dies, and why. So it's really kind of, what is that instinctual, is there that instinct? And I honestly, I suggest anybody read that book. Like, it's really, really, really interesting. There's got stories in there of people making really dumb decisions, and dying, decisions that, like, there were warnings. It's like, oh, like and then there's like just some freak accidents and people surviving. The book actually opens up with the story of his father during World War II, literally falling from the sky because his plane had been shot down, and he survives. So yeah, it's a really interesting book. And then before that, because this trend did not actually start, I re-listened to Tough Shit by Kevin Smith. Now, I thought that was a really good book. That book was, when did that book come out? This, and it's only about 6 hours long too. Let's see. This is life advice from a fat, lazy slob who did good. When did this come out? I can't remember when exactly it came out. It is it too is read by the author, by Kevin Smith. But it came out after Red State, when he the film Red State, which I can't remember when that came out either. After Cop Out, because he talks about Cop Out. Red State came in after Cop Out, so he talks about, you know, producing Red State. He talks about his time with Bruce Willis, and of course, you know, putting Clerks together and all that kind of stuff. So it's funny because after I read that, Clerks 3 had just come out. I don't know if I've talked about Clerks. When I first watched Clerks, I thought it was amazing. I love the movie. Clerks 2, I think, was amazing. That's kind of where we all fell in love with, or most people fell in love with Rosario Dawson. And then Clerks 3 just came out last month. Clerks 3 made me cry. Like, it made me cry. But it was just an amazing story. So it's funny because we all know Kevin Smith had a heart attack and then he loses a bunch of weight. And it was funny because I listened to him on Joe Rogan shortly after the heart attack. And he was talking about, oh, you know, everyone's gonna be like, oh, he's a writer, he's a director. His next movie is going to be his heart attack movie. And he goes, I remember him telling Rogan, no, it's not. It's not going to be my heart attack movie. You know, my next movie is not going to be about heart attacks. So he did a couple different movies. Dan, how are you, sir? You're still there? When are you coming back? Like, are you ever coming back? Like, are you enjoying it that much? But anyway, so but Clerks 3 is the heart attack story, or that's him telling his heart attack story, because Clerks, the original one, was telling his story as Clerks. So I of course never saw it in the theaters. Don't know if it actually went to the theaters. Because I don't follow Kevin Smith. Like, you know, I'm not a huge follower, so I don't know when it actually was in the theaters. If he did the thing that he does where he'll just shoot, you know, he'll have a limited theater run in certain cities, and then he'll release it. So it was but it came out on iTunes. I bought it because I have to own all of them, and I watched it. So I'm watching. I watched all the documentaries, and those made me cry. Like, I don't know. Very sentimental when it came. I don't know why, but it made me cry. So, but he mentioned that he was in part of the documentary, or in something that I was listening to, he mentioned the movie Tusk, or Tusks, that he had made. And I was like, what is this movie? Like, cause he talked about how, like, he was watching Tusks. He was watching it on HBO, and he was like, oh, I have this idea, you know, I want to do this and this and this. And so I was like, what is this movie Tusks? So I look it up. It's on HBO Max. It's one of those movies, like, it was made, when did it come out? It came out after, let's see. It came out in 2014. I think it came out after Red State, but it stars what's his name? It stars Justin Long and Michael Parks, who passed away and then also Haley Joel Osment. but Justin Long and Michael Parks make up the bulk of the story. And unless of course you were actually looking on IMDb like I was, it actually has Johnny Depp in there too. So because I was like, oh, that guy kind of looks familiar. Like, who is this? And then I looked, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Johnny Depp. So anyway, Tusk is actually a really, really good movie. It's also really bizarre. Like, after watching this movie, I was like, what the hell did I just watch? Like I had so many questions. But yeah, it was a very interesting movie. So if you have HBO Max, the movie's only an hour and a half long. Go watch the movie. It is yeah, it's an interesting movie. It's an, you know, yeah, just I would go watch Tusks. Let's see. So there's all of that. They'll let's see where Clone Wars season 9 or AKA Bad Batch season 2. First 2 episodes dropped. Not going to give a lot away because you may or may not have seen it yet. Actually, it was actually pretty good. The first 2 episodes dropped. I like where it's going. I don't know how much time has gone by between season 1 and season 2. They made it seemed as if they did make Omega a little bit older, but yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season. So 2 episodes dropped, and then you have, I don't know, I think we'll only have 1 episode next week. And actually, it's good that 2 episodes dropped, just because the end of the second episode, you're just like, what? Like, don't end like that. So I am glad that 2 episodes dropped. Had a good ending to the last episode. So we're ready, we'll be ready for the rest of the story. For me, I got ready for it, as you guys well know, by rewatching all of Clone Wars, and then Bad Batch season 1, and then just for fun, I rewatched the Tales of the Jedi, and I don't know where online, because chronologically you have the Clone Wars available on StarWars.com, but it's only Clone Wars. But for me, I started putting in where in the story do these other shows fit in. So so what I did is I took the episodes from Tales of the Jedi and then put those in my list. So I have this master Star Wars chronological order watch list that includes the movies, the TV shows, the cartoons, all that kind of stuff. So like Rob once, he's like, oh, so we're like last week, I think he said, so we're going to get a year of Star Wars book, potentially. Right now you could watch Star Wars 5 days a week, 1 episode a day, or 1 movie a day, if there's a movie, and just Monday through Friday. and you'd be able to get through it through an entire year. There is not yet 365 episodes, but I've also put in there the 12 episodes that are expected for season 2 of what do you call it? Of Andor, and then the 16 episodes for Bad Batch, and then the 8 episodes of Mandalorian season 3. But we don't know how many Ahsoka episodes there's going to be. So this year is going to be a huge year for Star Wars, because we've got Bad Batch, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, the Acolyte is going to be airing. So, and then of course for Star Trek we have Picard season 3. I am kind of looking forward to that. Strangely interested. There's so and then of course hopefully we'll get season 5, I think, of Discovery. Hopefully we'll get a season 2 of Strange New Worlds, but I don't really know if they've even given a release date to that. So yeah. Anyway, there you go on that. Let's see. For the school, I suck at the social media. So my wife and I, even though we've done certain things, she's supposed to be doing the social media. But we've been creating this plan. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm actually starting to write a blog. So I wrote one the other night. I was so stressed about the lack of money from my 401k that I just couldn't sleep. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't sleep. I'm not, I can't just veg and watch a movie. I was not tired. So I was like, okay, well, I said I was going to start a blog. So I started writing. And in fact, I've actually considered, and I've been told, Brandon Beliso has said this. And there's a couple other people who have told me this, is just to start a journal. Just start a journal. And it's funny. It's funny, but Matthew McConaughey in his book talks about how he, for 35 years, had kept a journal. And so he on tape, on paper, he'd write musings down on a napkin and put it in his journal. He loves bumper stickers. So it was really like, when putting his book together, Green Lights, he basically pulled stories from his journal, or, and those allowed him to remember these different stories that he told in the book. So I just thought that was, pretty funny. So I have considered writing a journal. I know, but for right now, I don't know yet. However, I am starting a blog. So I figure, don't know exactly when I will start posting. I figure, it'll be accessible on my website on Artisan. But I'll probably start posting on my Facebook, sharing it that way. So that'll be actually part of my social media, is writing the blog and then doing it. I might actually, as part of that, do a verbalization of my blog. It's funny because what's his name? Randy kind of does the reverse. He's more of a talker. And so, but then his talks will be transcribed and then they become blogs. So anyway, so I've started writing. I've got a couple ideas, several ideas that I've written down before I actually came on this morning. And why I was a little bit late was because I had been I was in the middle of writing a blog. So, but I figure I'll just post it once a week. So we've got there'll be I'll be here on Fridays, and then maybe my blog might come out on Mondays. And ERC Pros is calling. Let's hang up on that. I did get a call this morning. It was funny. I did get a call this morning. It was somebody wanting to buy my house. It's like, oh, hello, Michelle. That's when I know that they've gotten my name off of some list, some official list. Hello, Michelle. Can you hear me okay? Which actually is a good thing when it comes to self-defense against scammers. When they ask, can you hear me okay? You never say yes. You say, uh-huh, or mostly, or, something other than yes or no, because they can use that. If it is truly a scam, they can use that audio clip if they are trying to get into some type of, account where it's all automated and the system is voice printing you. I can't remember what company I work with or I have some service with, but it is voice printed. Like if I go in through the automated system, they will know that it's my voice compared to somebody else's. So that's why you never, when anybody ever, some scammer calls, oh, can you hear me? You never say yes or no. You always say, affirmative or I think so. Can you speak up or anything like that? But anyway, this person, well, we're just interested, do you still live at this address? I'm not interested in selling. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I could tell that they were trying to buy the house, or they were interested in buying the house. I was like, I'm not interested in selling. And it threw the woman off because she was like, well, just in case, if you're interested in the future, we want you to keep us in mind. Be like, I'm not going to be interested in the future. I'm not going to sell my house. Please listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. So, and then I politely was like, I hope you have a nice day. Please remove me from your call list. And then I hung up. So I don't know. We'll see if that company actually leaves a voice message, because sometimes I'll get voice messages and then sometimes I won't. Oh, nope, no voice message. So anyway, so that's kind of how things are going. Still got some tea. Okay, so weather stories. Now, I don't know if you guys know Jim Korn, who may or may not be watching right now. Hey, Jim. He posted about it, or he copied and pasted something, and then Stitchboro Karate may have posted something about it. But anyway, a friend of mine through the martial arts, Clay Pearson, he has a couple schools in Georgia, specifically Statesboro is where one of them is. Anyway, He and his family were visiting family in California during the freak ice storm that kind of came through last week or the week before. And uh, since we were really not prepared, really none of us, it just kind of came out of nowhere. Even though their house was insulated and all the things were in place, somehow it got so cold because they weren't actually in their home, their pipes froze. And then when they thawed, they burst. So they cannot live in their home right now. GoFundMe will be going up soon. Once I have that information, I will share it because they do have a place to live temporarily while they kind of get back on their feet. But it really sucks. It super sucks that happened. I'm glad that nothing like that happened here. Very fortunate. I mean, I had my own water problems a couple weeks ago that I'm still haven't fixed the sheetrock inside the house, but that is coming. But like yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? We had wind, like it was crazy. Luckily, I don't have any trees on my property anymore. But the wind was so bad, it actually pushed over like 3 or 4 trees in my neighborhood. Coming back from class Wednesday night, we coming home, a tree had actually fallen across the road. And so I had to kind of make my way back. They already had enough people working on it to help cut it up and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't offer my services, but yeah, the tree fell right across the road. And the next morning I came out and there was another tree that had fallen in somebody's yard, not completely missing the house, which was good. But yeah, so lots of trees in the road instead of lots of branches, like trees. There were a couple trees that I have had in the past that if the trees had been there, they would have fallen on the house. It was that windy. But yesterday, on my way out, I had to go to the bank. I go out and I just check the top of my roof because, I've got an older roof. I probably in the next couple of years will need to replace it. Even though during the summer, I get all these people knocking on my door saying I need to replace my roof now. When I bought the house, the inspector's like, oh yeah, you've got another good 10 years on your roof. Don't worry about it. But the wind took several shingles with it yesterday. So I still had like a whole pack of shingles from when I built my shed. And so I think I ended up replacing 8 sheets, like the 3 tabs. I replaced 8 of those on my roof yesterday. So my daughter was doing some of her online work. So I told her, I was like, hey, I'm gonna be on the roof. The shingles that I'm replacing are going to be on the front side of the house. So if I fall, I will probably be falling right in front of your window. So like like a good daughter, she opens up her shades and says, okay, well, if you fall, I'll see you fall and call 911 if necessary. She says, I might even climb out the window to help you. And if there's any spiders, I won't be afraid of the spiders. She would still be afraid of the spiders. Love her to death. But so anyway, so that was kind of my plight, was love being a homeowner. But I do feel for Clay and his family. But yeah, once I get that, once that hits, I'll share it so people can also help them out, because I know that there's a GoFundMe that's going to be posted here soon. So let's see what else. Yeah, that's just a lot going on. Yeah, just life. I will not be able to make it to Indiana in April, mainly because I've lost so much money. But I hope to. But I will be going out there in September, and that's kind of where my little vacation. I'm gonna have my little vacation of the year, where the plan is I'll go out to Indiana in April, not April, in September, or like end of September, 1st of October, wherever it's going to end up being. And because it's supposed to be, Jim says it's going to be a week before Hogan's thing. So I'll fly out there, stay, and then I will be driving with them to Jacksonville, doing the Jacksonville seminar, and then flying home. So I'll fly into Indiana and fly home from Jacksonville. So that's the plan for that. So, and hopefully I will still be able to do that. In fact, I think regardless, I will be able to do that. That's my plan. So, still going to have my Friends in the Arts experience in June. I've wanted to have Jim out there. Jim and I have talked about that a couple times. I think I could probably pull it off, but if I go to Indiana in April, I definitely will not be able to pull it off in June. So, and then of course we have Bram's thing in whatchamacallit, Bram's thing in July. So, which I already have all the money necessary to buy the books, not the books, but the knives. I'm actually already actively paying on those. So, so kind of excited about that. The joke is, and it's not a joke because we all want Bram to live, but the joke is that if Bram dies, at least people will be able to get his knives. So, so yeah. Anyway, okay, so I think that's all I have to say. I'm almost done with my tea. And is there anything else? Yeah, I don't think that there's anything else. You know what? Shameless plug. Okay, so I've got Q Show Corner episodes still coming out. One came out last Thursday. I've got 2 more pre-scheduled. So that means I got to start filming again. I've got a couple different books I'm working on. I was hoping to maybe go up and see Harvey this weekend, but Harvey and I have not talked about that. So that might be next weekend. But if anybody is watching this and has gotten this far, I've got a deal for you. I put this up on Bram's knife site, but I've got this deal for you. So I've got these 2 DVDs. One is this is a 2 set. This is the Definitive Crimp. And then this is a 4-disc. It is Definitive Modular. Not this specific hat. This is my hat, but it is a modular, like an official modular hat. Okay. And then I don't know where the hell it went. I have it around here somewhere. I've got a ton of them. Oh, here it is. And a patch. Oh, it's upside down. And a patch. All of those, I think I've sold it. This is the last set. Like the last hat, not the last patch, but the last hat and the last set of Crimp and Modular. Discount price altogether, $375. Or maybe something like that. Maybe it was $350 plus shipping or $375 plus shipping. I can't remember, but I had 2 sets. I sold one like right away. But anyway, if you want it, let me know. I will ship it to you. Shipping is like, I think it was like $18. So I think, something like that. So you've watched this far, you want it, let me know, DM me, call me, text me, however you know to get a hold of me, and then it's yours. And that's pretty much it. So thank you for hanging out this long. If you have not liked, shared, subscribed, do all that kind of stuff. And I will see you next Friday. Until then, be safe and